I believe, no, in fact, I know that every single person in the entire world has a deep desire to contribute to the humanity around them. They want to make an impact. They want to make a difference. They want to make the world a better place for them having been there. And today, myself and my guest, we're going to be exploring the impact that she can make and that you can make. So listen along to this episode if you would like to make a deeper impact to the world. She's going to be starting to define her impact journey and how she wants to express that. So if you're at that stage, this is going to be a perfect episode to listen to. But before we dive into this episode, I wanted to add a disclaimer because what we're going to be discussing in the episode is something that is pretty challenging for some people emotionally, could be triggering, and we'll be discussing ectopic pregnancy loss. And I want to say for my part, I'm a dude, so I don't have experience with this. I don't understand the depth of emotion and the challenge and the thoughts that a person that who is going through this is going through. So I'm not going to try and speak to that very much, but I do understand how emotions work and how resilience works. So we're going to be discussing that in this episode. And that's beautiful. That's important. Do you have anything to add to that stuff?
I think I would just add that um, it is a very sensitive topic, but that if you are able to find yourself anyone that you're able to discuss your feelings openly with, whether they are able to, sort of physically understand the challenges or not, um, being able to talk about how you're feeling is really important. And so I would encourage anyone who is experiencing any kind of pregnancy loss, miscarriage, a scare, if you have a trusted person that you can talk about your feelings with, I think that that's beneficial in almost all cases. So, yeah, I guess I would just encourage everybody to find a listening ear,
Yeah.
whether it's
And
me, you, or anyone else.
yeah, it's important to have that connection.
Hmm.
And in on this the following episode, we'll be discussing really how you can be resilient, not just through this type of loss, but through any loss. So it's super applicable to everyone to be able to see how you can move forward, even in challenging emotional situations.
We all experience grief at some point in our lives. And when it comes down to it, that is a big part of this particular puzzle is processing grief. And that is a part of the experience. Mhm.
I have a guest today. Her name is Steph Stuart. She is an ectopic pregnancy loss coach. So ectopic loss coach is kind of how you'll find her all around the internet. She's dear friend. She's been on the podcast before and always have a blast. I think this is your third time on the podcast. Is that
This
right?
is my third time on the podcast.
Wow,
Believe
look at
it.
you, man. And we always like to have her. She brings forth a lot of depth of coaching knowledge, a lot of depth of experience, and she's just an awesome person. So welcome, Steph. Yeah.
Thanks for having me again.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And this space, if you've never listened to this podcast before, this is the Rich Life Realization Podcast. On the Rich Life Realization Podcast, we explore the richest life possible. Your vibrant life is a single thought away. And sometimes all you need to do is find that single thought, and then things become easier. You can have that impact on the world. You have that vibrancy of life, that connection, the love.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool space. It's fun to be in.
Power sentences. The one thought, power sentences. Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. The when one thought, I think of it as wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
the one thought. So thought from your higher mind, from
Mm-hmm.
the infinite space within you, a realization.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
you know how transformative a realization is.
absolutely. Absolutely. I actually wrote, I wrote a senior creative writing project in college about my mom titled One Day She Realized. And it was about like a pivotal moment in her life. And it was that exact thought, or that exact, I don't know, concept, that a realization can be the thing that changes everything. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you've had some realizations in your life, maybe. It's
absolutely.
even lately, it sounds like.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, ectopic loss coaching um, is it's an it's an interesting niche. Um, Pregnancy loss coaching is absolutely a thing, and there are other practitioners out there who are in this space with me. Um, but of course, I chose ectopic loss coaching based on my own personal experience of an ectopic pregnancy loss.
Mm,
And I decided that the tools and the, I'll say, wisdom, to use your word, that coaching has afforded me, that I had in my possession going into that experience, changed the experience for me 100%. Um, and that's why I decided that that was what I wanted to pursue in coaching other humans.
mm,
To share those little things, that the wisdom, the insight, the realizations that came up for me along that journey, that I feel like could be worthwhile to share with someone else.
mm. And it's very challenging subject. So, and my wife, she was pregnant, and we've just had a baby.
Congratulations.
Yes, yes. And so it's definitely close to my heart that we didn't suffer through a miscarriage or anything like that, but we had a scare. There was a time when it was really, really scary. And so I can see just how the thoughts, how emotional it is, how connected. I mean, it's really hard. It's a the possibility of a child, of a human.
Right, right. So I had one really big picture realization, I would say, that I can think of off the top of my head throughout this process. And it was that I believe that the energy of that human life, that pregnancy, did not leave my experience just because the pregnancy ended.
Mm,
And I believe that if I want to, that energy is available to me in terms, it's in the form of my thoughts, my emotions, and maybe my actions, to create something new.
mm.
Yeah. And it's, I would say that it's a belief of mine that borderline spiritual belief
Mhm.
more than an intellectual belief. But I feel like that energy of the pregnancy and the possibility of what that life could have bloomed into, it's just not gone. And yeah,
Mm.
that's really why what I want to do is coach, because to me coaching is very much a planting of seeds and blooming. Yeah.
That's amazing. And kind of funny too, because watch the next video. We're going to be talking about potential and possibility. So I feel like that's going to align perfectly with what you were talking about here. And I also found that the notion that this possibility that what could have been is an energy that you can live out. It's almost like this, especially around a human,
Mhm.
possible human, that would have had their own personality and their own life and their own unique journey in the world and their own unique contribution. You can kind of share that with them now in
Mhm.
your own impact journey.
Literally, my coaching practice has been born from that experience.
Mm.
And it's, of course, it's the gift no one asked for. It was like you said, it's a really heavy subject. And I can tell sometimes it makes people maybe a little bit uncomfortable because they want to be compassionate to me as the person who experienced that. And I of course, I appreciate that. But it's just interesting. It was a moment. I was writing in my journal about how I was thinking and feeling. And I had the thought that when someone passes away at the end of a long life, we we grieve their loss, and we think a lot about the time that we had with them, the experiences that we had with them, the impact that they made on us. But it's a different flavor of grief to me than when either a young person or an infant or a pregnancy is lost. And the difference is that there is that potential, that energy that ended up not being visible to us in the world through that person. And I thought, it's just still here though. There's,
Mm.
I can feel it. There's still something here that I can work with. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And to me, it connects a lot with where life comes from and life goes back
Mhm.
into the kind of,
Right.
we were talking about the spiritual dimension of life a little bit,
Right.
and that we're born from this pure understanding, this
Mhm.
place of unconditional love, like a complete lack of judgment.
Mhm.
Like this space within us doesn't even understand judgment. It does not compute. And we will return to that space, and that this little possibility, this little being that was for a moment and was not, is a part of that. That just like there's that cliche expression about the waves, that each person is like a wave, but really we're the whole ocean
Mhm.
at the same time expressing as one single wave, and that we shouldn't compare ourselves to other waves as far as time, the amount of time that we've lived, or the amount of money that we've created, or our physical bodies.
Right. Accomplishments.
accomplishments. We're all made of the same stuff, the same water.
And we're all
And
part of the same ocean,
yeah, of course. Yeah,
connected. Mm-hmm.
of course. Interconnected. It's a space that comes from quiet when our intellectual minds die down,
Mm-hmm.
that's present. Even if we can push it away, even if we can create a barrier using the power of our own intellectual minds, but it's there. And that means that life is with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess um, that was sort of my big aha moment.
Mm,
And I think that what I really would love to share with others who have experienced something similar or the same as what I've experienced is to discover their own aha moment
mhm,
and to decide whether or not they agree with me that they feel they can still tap into that energy and bring forth something in their own life out of what most people would classify as a really tragic experience.
yeah.
Because I think it doesn't have to stay in that space of tragedy. It can. And I think that there's an invitation to all of us to stay there as long as we want to stay there. When we find ourselves in that lower mood, lower thought, sort of lower vibrational point, there isn't a rush, there is no force, but also it is always available to us to at some point think and feel something new.
Mm,
Mhm. And even in a really terrible circumstance, that's true. And I guess that's kind of what I want to share.
mm.
Mhm.
I feel like that's the definition of resilience, is to
Mhm.
be able to, even if you just know that you can see this in a new way in time,
Mhm.
that's hope.
Mhm.
And that I've also liked how you talked about how it's you want to help people have their own insights around it,
Mhm.
because I think we can get into this trap of all, and a lot of coaches do this, as they say, well, here are my thoughts, you need to do these thoughts, and then they're going
Mhm.
to throw thoughts at you. Have you thought about it this way? Have you
Yeah,
considered that possibility? And that's not going, I feel like that's surface level coaching.
right.
But when you allow other people the space and the, like, you have this space of no judgment, you can, hey, stay here, stay
Yeah.
in this space. I know it probably is, it hurts, and I'm gonna be here with you.
Mhm.
And also there's a possible way of thinking about this that will come.
Mhm.
And that's powerful coaching. So I think you're going to be a great coach, Steph.
Thanks, Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on your impact journey.
Yeah. I have been thinking leading up to us recording together
Mm.
about if I could sort of elevator pitch my impact journey, my
Oh,
desired impact journey.
sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
This is always fun because it's always changing, and you you want to just kind of throw it out there and practice as many times as possible. So I love elevator pitches. They're fun because you're evoking something in the other person using your words, your descriptive words. And when you're doing this, so you want to, number one, be able to have the other person, the person listening, zero in on exactly who you're talking about. Who do you help? That is the number one thing. If they can think of 2 to 3 names, you've done a phenomenal job. And number two is your brain actually takes a lot of energy trying to figure it out. So you want to make it super simple, super clear, telling people exactly what you do. If you do those 2 things, then you've got a great elevator pitch. So it's always worth practicing, always worth honing, because it's about clarity and clarity in your business. The stuff you're going to share with us, your elevator pitch. I am ready. I'm in the
Big
elevator.
moment.
I pressed the button. 30th floor, please.
All right. So my elevator pitch is that I want my impact to be to revolutionize the way that people who experience miscarriage experience the miscarriage, process the miscarriage, and grow from the miscarriage. I know
Nice.
there were a lot of words in there.
Yeah.
It was not we're getting to elegance. We'll get to elegance.
Well, that's why you practice. That's why you have a lot of this over and over and over. And
Yeah.
you tell people and you look for their reaction.
Yeah.
You look for them to, they might be like, ask a question. They might be like, okay, what do you mean? Or they might be
Right.
like, ooh, I should put you in touch with this person.
Right.
If they say, I should put you in touch with this person, wow, you've got a clear elevator pitch. You're doing great. So, yeah, it's always fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I guess breaking it down into my thought process,
Hmm.
revolutionize because my specific impact that I want to make is changing our societal coding around miscarriage.
Mm.
One of the most common things that I've come across in my personal journey and also my research out into the world of who my client is that one of the things that she's experiencing is isolation. and and in particular, because the type of miscarriage that I'm talking about happens at a very early stage in the pregnancy before most people have announced that they're pregnant. um, it comes, it happens, and it's over before anyone even knew, except you and maybe your partner or whatever, if you've chosen to share it with anyone close to you. So a lot of that is, there's a lot of societal thinking mixed in there, um, with how we're raised to think about pregnancy and what is appropriate, what is inappropriate. And there's so much there. There's so much there. And so I really want to revolutionize that experience for the people that I'm helping and to help them see their own societal programming in their head
Mm.
about what they're experiencing and about pregnancy itself, about parenthood, about motherhood, if that's what we're talking about. Um, there's so much that we are raised to believe, maybe, some very popular beliefs that are shared with us throughout the course of our young lives, that can come out in a very painful way when it doesn't go the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why I revolutionize. And
Nice.
I chose experience, process, and grow because those are, I think, those might be the three pillars of what I decide to teach. There's the actual experience of what happened. There's the process of what do I do after the dust is settling? What do I think? What do I feel? And then there's the growth, which is where am I going next? What am I deciding to think now?
Hmm.
Yeah,
And to all of those stages are important because I think a lot of people, when they go through any type of trauma, and this really is a trauma,
right.
there's no bones about it. This is a traumatic experience.
Right.
And when I think a lot of people's approach to traumatic experiences, especially societal approach, is to ignore, put it in a box,
Don't talk about it.
don't talk about
Do
it,
not talk about it.
especially in
Right.
our parents' generation. It was,
Right.
ooh, no, we don't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
And so a lot of people haven't truly experienced what actually happened with them. They're not allowing themselves to feel. They might be numbing.
Mhm.
And if you cannot experience it, you cannot process it.
Right. Right. Well, and so ectopic pregnancy loss involves medical intervention
Yeah.
to end the pregnancy. Um, so there is typically a physiological difference in the body of the person who has experienced the loss at the end. Like like a part of my body is no longer in my body at the end. And that in itself is so much to process. And if you think and feel that you cannot talk to anyone about it, um, because there is so much shame built into our system of thinking about pregnancy loss and what it means to fail to become a parent,
Mm.
um, that you could physically have a new cavity in your body that used to have an organ in it and that no longer has an organ in it. And I feel like there's just a need to process that a little bit. It's a good thing to really let yourself understand and think about that. And also to point your brain in the direction that is the most beneficial to you, your growth, your health, by deciding what it is that you are thinking about it and what it is that you want to think about it on purpose. Even if that thought is this really sucks.
Yeah.
And even if you want to sit at this sucks forever, that's great. But do it on purpose.
Yes,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can. A lot of times I think people don't realize that they have a choice in how they express and connect with what they're feeling. And
Mhm.
it's so important to feel it in the body and not just kind of feel it in the brain and try and figure it out with your brain and your intellect, but to really kind of feel it in the body because that's where it transforms.
Mhm.
That's where you can notice it
Yes.
shift and change with time.
Yeah. And I think that one of the biggest pieces of my coaching practice will be as I go further into this process because my coaching practice is very new still.
Mm.
What's the word that I want to use here? Healing, maybe your relationship with your body following a miscarriage or a loss.
Mm.
Because I think that there is a tendency to want to blame something, anything, when something bad has happened. And that, unfortunately, the easiest thing to blame is your physical body in this specific instance. The thought that there's something wrong with my body, there's something wrong with me, and that's why this happened. And I think that we all want to make our body our best friend. You know, I want to have a best friend relationship with my body always. And that means that I'm not going to blame her for something happening. You know, I'm going to love her through it. I'm going to be there with her. I'm going to connect to her. And yeah, that's a big part of the process.
Yeah. When we judge ourselves, then it's showing us that we don't have clarity. Because when we
Yeah.
have clarity for ourselves and our body, like I think you would watch the mood elevator where I talk a little bit about that. So that when we have that clarity, oh, we don't have judgments about the body,
Mm-hmm.
but we can use painful thoughts that's judgmental against our own body,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't feel very good.
There's just no benefit,
Yeah,
unfortunately. And
yeah.
I love a good neutral. I have a body. That's a great neutral thought. Hey, guess what? I have a body. Go figure.
Yeah. But that just connects with so much other people's challenges with especially seeing their own bodies and
Mm-hmm.
accepting their own bodies. And like you said, we don't have to love it. Like
Mm-hmm.
we could get to the place where we're loving it when we see it clearly,
Absolutely.
but it's not a like, I'm going to love it. I'm gonna love
Right.
my
It's
body.
that
No,
force.
no,
Yes.
no. It's I
Mm-hmm.
you just have this natural, oh, I'm so glad that I have this body. But that's, we don't have to step all the way to that. Like
That's
when
right.
you're in your coaching, you can just say, oh, I have a body.
Yep. We'll just start right there. Just with I
Yeah.
have a body.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that one of the most empowering things that anyone can do is to tell themselves a nice neutral truth.
Mm.
This nice neutral truth. I just have a body. That's it. And try my very best to take the judgment out of it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when we can do that, because there are times when you're low and you're just,
right.
no matter how you see it, it's gonna look worse than it really is.
Absolutely.
Like
Right.
it should have come with a warning label of your thoughts are not going to be helpful right now, or they're gonna be something that's I have a dog. I did not close the door. But that your thoughts are going to be painful and unhelpful right now. And things are gonna look worse than they are, but just momentarily.
And the distinction that I like to make there, and that I made there for myself a lot of the time when I was experiencing my pregnancy loss, was the difference between the thought, this shouldn't be happening to me, and the thought, this sucks, because this shouldn't be happening to me, it feels more powerless in that it's arguing with what I'm really observing in my life, what's really happening. Whereas this sucks is a nice neutral truth. This just sucks. It just does.
Yeah.
And there it's a so you're still feeling in that low part of the elevator. You know, those thoughts are both existing on that sort of that lower half of the elevator, but there's a very different feeling between the 2. Mhm.
Mm.
At least for me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because one is about what isn't. Like it's not what is. And what is that it happened.
Mhm.
And what isn't is that my body was at fault or anything
Yes.
else.
There's something wrong with me. There's
Yeah.
something wrong with my body. I'm never going to have the life that I want to have. Big, painful thoughts like that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. No clarity to be had anywhere.
No.
Judgment everywhere. No clarity.
And it's totally okay to be in that space. I think that's what I'm getting
Necessary.
from you, especially is that it's okay to be there, that it's okay to be in the hurt, that we don't want you there as coaches, but we're not going to be like, why aren't you figuring this out?
Yeah. My thought is that I'm never trying to convince someone not to feel the way that they feel.
Mm,
I don't want to convince you not to feel bad about something that has happened, but I do want you to decide if you want to continue to feel and think the way that you are feeling and thinking. And if you do, fantastic. Let's do it. And if you don't, fantastic. Let's do that instead.
mhm.
Mhm.
For me too, there's an okayness to this being human, like you're not messing up being human.
Yeah.
You're really not. That you have, like I said in earlier, you were born from pure understanding, love, connection. You're gonna
Mhm.
go back to it. You've already won the game.
Yeah.
So that's the good news. And in between, heck, you might fall into some human drama, this kind of play of life that might be a little bit more dramatic at times. There might be some more serious and heavy scenes, but that doesn't mean you're messing it up.
I
Maybe that
like to
would
think
mean you're living fully.
I like to think that we came here knowing that,
Mm.
wanting that.
Yeah.
Just like we, why do we love to watch or read, consume in whatever way stories about people going through it, right? And coming out on the other side. We love a story where someone goes through it and comes out on the other side, right?
Mhm.
I'd like to think that when we were coming out of understanding, we knew, okay, you're about to go have this human experience. There are going to be parts of it that are harrowing. Are you game? And we were game.
Yeah.
Yeah, send me, tag me in, coach. I'm going. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be awesome. I can't wait. I'm gonna feel all the feelings. I
Yeah.
want all 31 flavors.
That's part of being human.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes life interesting. I don't want a boring life of, oh, he made it through every single trial and tribulation with ease.
Right.
No. I
So
want to
of
have a
course
life
there's
where it's like you have the challenges, the setbacks. You get in this play of being human. You get to play at being human. You get to play around, to have fun, to use this emotional system of thoughts and feelings in interesting ways. And you're not doing it wrong. Even if you're going through it.
Especially if you're going through
Yeah.
it. This is the human part.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And yes, I want more people to have a more vibrant, rich, enjoyable life. Of course I do. But that's not denying the human aspect of life. It's not found in ascending above all of this day to day, ordinary emotional reaction. It's here.
It's embracing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
There's a playful forgetting of our own divinity, even.
Hmm. That's a big sentence.
Yeah.
Our own divinity, a playful forgetting of our own divinity.
Yeah. It reminds me of a story. I told this one a while ago. I was actually thinking about posting it. It was a story about Krishna. And Krishna was playing with another kid in their little neighborhood. And they thought he was a normal boy. And he was eating mud, like earth. Just for fun, like kids eat sand.
Like you do.
Like you do, of course, as we all did. we have we have rocks down there still, some of us, probably not. But he was eating earth, and this other little kid was like, "You're not supposed to do that." And he's like, "I can do what I want." And the little kid said, "Oh, I am gonna tell on you." And he said, "Go ahead, I don't care." And the little kid went and told his mom, "Mom, Krishna's eating mud. Go stop him." And the mom went over to Krishna and said, "Krishna, are you eating mud right now?" He's got mud slathered all over his face. He said, "Nope, I don't know what you're talking about." His mouth is full. And she says, "Open your mouth, young boy." And she opens up his mouth. She looks inside. And she sees the universe. And that is when that they knew that he was divine. He was divinity in flesh. And from then on, the kids still played with it. There was a playful forgetting of his divinity so that they could have fun. Even though that they knew in the back of their minds, oh, he's a god. They forgot. They let that go. And so that they could play games.
Mhm. Kids
And
are
I
so
think,
great at that.
oh yeah, adults suck at it, don't we? But we can play games. And I think, like you said, that's why we're here.
Mhm. It's nice to add levity.
Hmm.
Mhm. Whenever you can.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And maybe there's a way of seeing even something as challenging as ectopic pregnancy with even just a smidge of levity. Maybe.
I have I have a story. I actually I can tell it briefly, but
Sure.
So my ectopic pregnancy ended with surgery. So the same day it was diagnosed, I was in the operating room having surgery. And I decided going into the hospital that I was going to focus on just enjoying every single human that I came across,
Mm.
that I was going to be the most pleasant, the most appreciative version of myself through the whole experience. Anybody who came in my circle, anybody who spoke to me, from the lady in the billing office to the person putting in my IV to the anesthesiologist, everybody, right? And that was where I decided to plant myself going into this experience, because I just thought, wow, I'm so grateful. All of these very smart people are here to help me.
Mm.
That is awesome, right? And um, they, brought me to a room where they were setting up all of the things that I was going to need. And, I was in like one of those Jiffy Pop popcorn bags that keeps you warm. It's like a giant metal inflatable heated blanket bag. And just to control your body temperature, I think. And then they put me in like a gurney rolling hospital bed to bring me into the operating room. And I think I they had given me something to loosen me up, but I made a joke about it being like Mario Kart. And I don't know. This could have been one of the worst days of my life. It probably, I can think about it like that. Like maybe it was one of the worst days of my life, but I was joking about Mario Kart going down the hallway, maybe on some drugs, medical, hospital drugs. But it's because I decided ahead of time how I wanted to show up in that experience. I decided I wanted to make it as easy on myself and everyone else as possible. And um, it's completely okay when that isn't the case. Completely and totally okay. And in fact, I think, unfortunately, for a lot of people going into that same scenario, that isn't the experience at all, right? Um, but I guess to me, it was just this moment of watching kind of the power of my mind and the way that I was able to engage with my surroundings. And I think bring forward, at a minimum, really pleasant interactions with other humans, you know, and it made me feel really great at the time, or as good as I could, to show up like that. And yeah, I remember making that joke, even though within a few minutes I was passed out on passed out in the operating table. But yeah, sometimes you just got to joke about Mario Kart.
Yeah, as you should. Oh, that's cool. That you realize that you create your own reality using thought.
And the real moment that sticks with me is, so all of that had happened, and I was I was putting myself forward, just feeling grateful for everyone I was talking to. And my doctor was the person performing the operation, like my doctor from my clinic. And right as I was about to go under with the anesthesia, he offered to hold my hand.
Hmm.
He said, "Do you want me to hold your hand?" And I said, "Yes." He held my hand. And I think I was only there for about, 99, 98, 97, and then I was out. But I've always felt like, you know, maybe it's possible that I kind of brought that to myself,
Hmm.
that experience, that he offered in that moment to do something really comforting, because I was open to the idea of being comforted by these other humans at that moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Hmm. That's critical story, Stephanie. And you are phenomenal person, resilient, powerful, and you're going to be a phenomenal coach. I can't wait to see how your impact journey shows up in the world.
Thanks, Rich.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll end it here and share with people how they can find you because they heard your amazing elevator pitch and they said, I know 3 people that want to reach out to Steph. So how are they going to reach out to you?
The very best place to find me right now is on Instagram at Ectopic Loss Coaching. That's Ectopic, Ectopic, Ectopic Loss Coaching.
Got it? Reach out to Steph and follow her on Instagram. You can also instant message her if you'd like some
Mhm.
resources. And she, even just a person to talk to. I think it's so powerful to connect with somebody who has a similar experience and who's there to listen like you are.
Mhm.
So very
Absolutely.
valuable. And thanks for joining us in the Rich Life Realization podcast. I don't ask for much in this space, but I'm not going to do any like advertising or sponsorships. Maybe if Nike approaches me, I'll do that. But other than that, I'm not going to do that. And but I do appreciate you sharing this because I want more people to be impacted with wonderful coaches like Stephanie, and I want them to have a richer life. So thank you, Stephanie. Thanks for being on today. It was such a pleasure.